hope everybody's doing good out there. I know we're in some trying times right now, but we're just trying to make the best of it. I do want to thank all my subscribers, especially the ones that have joined recently. Seems like we're getting somebody new almost every day, which is great. So if you like the videos, please share with your friends, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, all that good stuff. So today we are going to be switching gears a little bit. We're going to be working on my 06 F350. I've had this truck a couple of years now. It's been a great truck. It's done everything I needed it to do. It's running great. The only issue is I'm starting to have a problem with a hard start. And that seems to be a common issue with this vehicle. And there's a few reasons why that can happen. Basically, you have an air leak inside the engine somewhere. It could be through the IPR valve. It could be through the ICP. It could be through the snap to connect fitting on the high pressure oil pump. It could be through the injector, O-rings. There's a lot of different things that it could be. Now I've pretty much replaced everything except for the snap to connect fitting on the high pressure oil pump, which is what we're going to be replacing today. Like I said, the truck's been running great, so once I can fix this one little problem, it should be like almost new. I do have a kit. Okay, so I got this kit from Ford. It comes with the fitting and all the gaskets you need. The part number on this is 4C3Z9B246F1X. And that's an original Ford part, so we know it's going to fit, it's going to be the right part. Now, one thing I like to do, anytime I start a big job, especially if it's something I'm not too familiar with, I like to kind of plan it out. I like to watch my videos first, see what it's all about, see if people have little tips and tricks like I'm trying to share with you today. But I also like to make a list of what I need to do in order. This way I'm not skipping around, I'm not missing things, I'm not wasting time basically. So I have a step-by-step plan here of everything I need to do to make this happen, and hopefully everything goes smooth and fixes the problem, and we're back up and running like new again. Alright guys, so let me get started on this, and we'll see how we make out. Okay, you might be able to hear the fire crackling in the background here. We had a gorgeous day yesterday. It was in the 60s. Today's only going to be maybe 40. So I kind of missed out on that day, but it's okay. So we took out the air filter assembly and took out the elbow and the cold air tube, so that stuff's all out of the way. Next thing we're going to do is take the degas bottle out of the way. So I'll loosen this up. You want to make sure you crack this loose, get any pressure out of the system that may be in there. You're going to have to disconnect the lines. Don't want coolant spewing everywhere. Okay, let's grab some pliers and we'll disconnect those. Okay, so we're going to take these hoses off. Alright, now I just happen to have some plugs I bought. These are like for vacuum lines and stuff, but I'm sure they're going to work this also. I'll just stick one on there. Stick another one on there, and that'll keep all the coolant in there from flying out. Okay, now let's take this. I'm just going to move it out of the way for now. I think if we go there, we should be fine. And take this hose out of the way. Tuck it over there somewhere. Next thing we want to do is take this wiring harness out of the way. I have other clips, so I'm not concerned about breaking these. Okay, next we're going to take this little connector off of the turbo. Get that out of there. There's a little retaining clamp here. Okay, let's pop that out. Get that wire out of the way. And then we got to take the turbo feed line off. Okay, we've got a little step wrench here we're going to use to take the turbo feed line off. It's a cold this morning. I have to warm them up by the fire for a little bit. Alright, now there is another one. Alright, so we're going to grab our 8mm with extension here. Okay, get that off. And we should be able to just pry up on this line here. Kind of wiggle it out. Okay, next thing we want to do is loosen up the clamps for the up pipe and the down pipe. And I'm probably going to want to get this out of the way. Now most folks won't have this because this is a kit that I added on afterwards from Sinister Diesel for my filtration system. You gotta make sure before you start too that you disconnect your negative battery terminals, because when we're pulling the turbo out, we don't want to hit this and short it out. Okay? Alright, so let's get a hold of those clamps in the back there. Alright, so there's 3 bolts that you need to get out to take the turbo out. One is like here, one is there, and one is down in the back there. They can be a little bit fun. The back one you need a 6-inch extension with a shallow 10mm and a ratchet, and you can get it from kind of behind there. This one you can get with a wrench, 10mm wrench, and this one you can go in straight with a ratchet and extension. Alright, so next thing we got to do is pop this pipe off of the turbo. There's a little tab on here that you lift it up off of there. Okay. And then you should be able to just pry the turbo up off of here. Okay, now it's popped loose. There is a oil drain tube underneath there. And then we just got to kind of finagle this thing out of here now. So let's see if we can do that. Alright, so my camera battery died, so I just proceeded a little bit further. So we got the turbo out, we got the turbo mounting bracket out, took the IPR valve out, and took out all the bolts for the cover. Want to make sure you clean this up good, you don't want any crap falling down in there. These 3 bolts under here, a little difficult to get to. You want to use a pivoting 8mm ratchet wrench. That'll make it a lot easier. We got 2 bolts on the back of the cover for that shield. Those got to come off, and then had to take the clamp off of the EGR cooler just to get access to that bottom bolt. So I think we're pretty much ready to pry this cover off. It's going to be a little difficult with the cooler on here. If you have a delete, it's a lot easier because that's not in the way. So let me get this pried up, see if we can get it off, and then I want to test to see if that STC fitting is actually the cause of my problems here. So let's get this cover off. Okay, so at this point we have the cover off now, and the fitting we're going to replace is right there, but we got to take this whole pump out to do that. But before I do that, I want to take this fitting I got, and I'm going to plug it in here where the IPR valve goes, and we're going to pressurize the system, and I want to see if the air is actually leaking out of there, just so I know if that's the actual cause of my problem or not. So let's hook that up and see what we got. Alrighty, so we have the high pressure pump out, and I believe this was my problem because you should not be able to do that. So that's where I believe the air was leaking, causing my hard start issue. So hopefully once we get this replaced, everything will be the way it should be. Alright, so let's get this thing set up in a vise so we can get it all set up here. Okay, so now that we got it in the vise, you want to just turn it. Make sure you can hear it pumping in there, so that sounds good. Now when you go to put the new one in, they give you a tool. It's actually like a guide. And what you want to do, okay, we're going to take the new fitting, and they tell you to put it in about 5 turns. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that should be roughly where it's going to go. So we're going to take this here, and this is going to set it up so to make sure it's all lined up properly. I'm going to put this one on here. Okay, now let's see. And I think I might have to go in one more turn. It's going to be on a slight angle, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Alright, so let's get this one tightened first. And this one. And this one. Okay, so that's pretty much right where it's supposed to be. And then we just have to tighten this nut up. Let's see if I get a wrench for that. Okay, so that should be all set, and we can take these off. Okay, now the other one you saw popped right out. This one ain't going anywhere, so that's where the leak was, and I'm glad that's what it was, because I didn't want to have to dig any deeper. I mean, I've replaced pretty much everything on here, other than I've done one fuel injector, but I didn't do the other ones because I didn't need them. So I'm just glad to see that. Alright, so we got an O-ring on here we got to get off. Alright, so we're going to grab hold of this O-ring on here. This thing's been on here a while. Get rid of that. And we'll just kind of clean up around here a little bit. Okay, kit comes with a new O-ring. On here. Okay. And just smear a little bit of oil on there. Alright, so that's all set. Now there's a couple O-rings on the manifold. One's going to go here. So let's put this aside and we'll get those O-rings out. Okay, so let's see, we got a couple of O-rings. One is this yellow one right here, and then there's one right there. Sometimes when these break loose, they can actually crack the case. Oh, I'm sorry, the other O-ring's right there. They can actually crack the case like right here in the corner. And I'm glad to say I don't see a crack there, which is awesome. So we're gonna pull those two O-rings out, put the two new ones in, and we'll start putting this thing back together. Alright, we got the new O-rings in, got that one there, got that one up there. Now we got to put a little dab of silicone on these points here. So I just got some high temp gasket silicone. I'm going to put a blob there. And a blob over there. That's where the two covers meet, so they just want to put a little protection there, I guess. Okay. Alright, so we just got to be very careful putting this back together that nothing falls inside there. You do not want anything falling inside there. So let's get the cover prepped with the new gasket, and we'll see if we can snake her back in there. Alright, we got the cover all cleaned up. And now we're going to put the new gasket on here. Make sure it goes in nice and straight. Oops, upside down. Just realized that because there's a little nib right here that goes into the cover. I was wondering why that was like that. So that's pretty good. It only goes on one way. Okay. Alright, what I like to do is I have one of these heavy rollers, and I like to just roll it in there just to make sure everything's nice and flat and seated properly. Double check it. Okay, that all feels good. Alright, we'll see if we can snake her back in there. Okay, we got the pump back in there. It's all bolted in. They give you some new bolts too to bolt it in with, which is kind of cool. I got the new O-rings, the new blue O-ring there. So we got to get the cover back on now. Alright, at this point we got the cover back on. We got the IPR valve back in. Turbo. That's always the fun part, trying to line these pipes up. Hopefully that doesn't give me a big pain in the butt. So let's continue on and see where we go. So I'm just finishing up, and how appropriate is it that the Stones' Start Me Up comes on the radio. Alright guys, so get her all back together. All that's left to do now is just start her up, run her for a little while, make sure everything's good. Alright guys, so we got the truck all taken care of now. I just took it for a test drive. Everything's working fine, starting right up again. You know, shut it off a few times
while it was hot and restarted to make sure everything was okay. So I think it was definitely that STC fitting, because like I said, when I took the pump out, it just basically fell apart, and that's kind of a telltale sign right there. So hope that helps you guys. You know, if anybody's thinking about doing it, it's not too bad. It took me probably about 5 hours or so to get it done. At the end, I did have a little issue of an air leak, and it ended up being, you know, one of the downpipes. Those things were a pain to line up. I realigned it, and everything's fine now. So if you liked the video, give a thumbs up, give a like, give a share, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.